Now in theaters, I mean, I guess this is a very limited release. I don't know if are any theaters showing this. We have the new Marvel movie, this month's Marvel movie. This honestly might be this week's Marvel movie, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This is the latest in the Marvel slash Doctor Strange slash Avengers series of films. It all ties together. They all tie together now. It's like I don't know how much anybody who's just like leaping into this long running series of films, how hard it is to understand. I mean, honestly, I think Hollywood films are made so that anybody can understand it, so that nobody is left in the dark. I think if you have seen some of the other Marvel stuff, there's a bit more context and a little bit more gravitas for some of this, but otherwise, it's a fun movie. So it's the latest Doctor Strange movie. We once again have Benedict Cumberbatch back as Doctor Strange, the Marvel magical, sure, why not, coin a phrase, the Marvel magician, wizard, what have you, and this sort of follows up on the events of Spider-Man No Way Home, which Doctor Strange played a big part in, and also the WandaVision Disney Plus TV series. The Scarlet Witch is featured in this. Elizabeth Olsen is the Scarlet Witch, and she is basically, I don't want to give too much away, but she's basically basically the villain in this film, and her motivations for what she is doing are based around the events of that WandaVision TV series. So if you've got 6 to 9 hours, or maybe it's shorter than that, before you go see Doctor Strange, if you can find a theater playing it, WandaVision will give you a bit more context for what you see in this movie. If not, they sort of explain it several times why she's doing what she's doing. So I thought this was fun. This is directed by Sam Raimi, the man who gave us, for younger folk, the man who gave us the first three, I think, of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films. For folks like me, he's the guy who brought you Evil Dead, and Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness, and Crime Wave, and The Gift, and most importantly, for love of the game. And so it's a Sam Raimi movie. I mean, it doesn't feel... The studio only lets a director go so far with their own style, but it feels at times very much like a Sam Raimi movie. And indeed, this kind of becomes a horror movie by the end of it. So those of you who are bringing little kids to see this movie, and these children today, they love the Marvel films, you may want to be aware that it gets a little scary. It gets a little horror-y toward the end. I didn't love this. I thought this was fun and good. For a stretch of it, it's a little melodramatic and a little light, but it sort of hits the ground running, like out of the gate. There's just amazing visuals and crazy things going on, and it chugs right along. You know, it's a Marvel movie about wizards and magic and flying people, so naturally it's 2 hours and 11 minutes, but it never felt long to me. It just felt cool and fun. I happened to go see it in IMAX 3D because I've got the Stubbs A-list and it doesn't cost me anymore, so why not? The 3D was interesting. Let's talk about 3D a little bit. So 3D historically is something that Hollywood does when some other entertainment form threatens them. In the 50s, the 3D boom was brought about because people were flocking to TV and staying home, staying out of theaters. In the 80s, it was home video and cable that was keeping people home, so 3D was brought back. 3D's always been, well, you can't get this at home. And then more recently, the 3D boom was brought about by, again, people staying home with streaming and by piracy. And one thing you can't pirate and just pass off on a DVD-R is 3D. And it was something pizzazzy and extra that you would get. The 3D trend has more or less died out. For a while, it was like you couldn't not see a movie in 3D in the theater. Now I actually have to be reminded that it's even still a thing. I always liked 3D, but I feel for the most part, especially now that so many films that you do see 3D weren't shot that way. They're done in post-production after the fact. Somebody turns them into 3D. To me, for 3D to work, you have to hold a shot. And most Hollywood movies don't do that. They cut real fast to keep things exciting. And you have to have deep focus, or you should, and you have to have a stable camera movement. In my mind, 3D, in order to work, your brain and your eye needs to be able to see an image, process the fact that there's depth, and then enjoy or be impressed by that. And when you post-convert a movie that was never intended to be shot that way, it just moves along too fast for your brain to see much. So I saw it in 3D because I could. I think 99% of any of you who watch this won't have that opportunity, and you're really not missing anything. Some of the shots were a little bit cooler in 3D, but the shots are still cool anyway. So I enjoyed the film. It's light, zips right along. As always, amazing effects, mind-bending effects. What's the movie about? He eventually gets to. I don't like to talk too much about the plots of movies because I figure you'll find out as you watch it, and more often than not, the trailers do a great job of telling you too much, and I don't want to add to that. So basically, the events of Spider-Man No Way Home have left... we've experienced the multiverse, shall we say. The fact that there are multiple universes, each a little bit different, with differing realities and forms of the people we know. So this movie plays with that a bit. We jump through some multiverses. Doctor Strange comes into the companionship of a young girl who has the ability, uncontrollable ability, to jump from multiverse to multiverse, and the Scarlet Witch, for one reason or another, wants to harness that power, thus basically killing the girl, but allowing her, the Scarlet Witch, to jump from multiverse to multiverse. If this sounds like a whole bunch of hoo-ha, this might not be the movie for you. It is a lot of hoo-ha in this film, but it's fun. You know, it's a popcorn movie. It's a big crowd popcorn movie. I saw this. I tend to go to see these Marvel movies now because nobody can, like, keep their mouth shut online. Even before they come out, people are putting things on YouTube that they bootlegged. And it's just like, let other people enjoy it as it plays. And the theater's the best place to enjoy it. So I go to the earliest show I can so that I avoid all the spoilers online. Because you know me, I'm a social media butterfly. And those shows tend to be the ones where the hardcore fans go to, which to me makes it more fun. When I saw Spider-Man No Way Home, people were cheering like it was a football game, like a pro football game. And there was a bit of that here too. People were like scream cheering when certain characters showed up. So this does also have the introduction of some characters we haven't seen before. This has the introduction of some characters we haven't seen in the form they're presented here before. And for the really hardcore comic book fans, it was a big deal. And somebody would show up in some costume I've never seen, and the people would go nuts. And I'm just like, they must be serious comic fans. So there's that too, which for me was just fun to celebrate the joy of the love these people have for this medium, these movies and the comics in the theater. And it made it more fun for me. Like I always say, a comedy is best when you see it with a group of people who want to laugh. A horror movie is best when you see it with people who get frightened by horror movies. And a Marvel movie, I think, is best with a crowd who really loves Marvel movies. So it's funny, as I record this movie has been out for like 2 or 3 days, and it was posted in a film group I watched that the AMC Empire 25 screener in New York City has, on the day I'm recording this, 70 showtimes for the new Doctor Strange. They've devoted most of their screens to this. They're running this thing, talk about a grindhouse, they're running it round the clock. So I always joke to any friends who said they haven't seen it yet, I'm like, well, good luck finding a theater running it, because honestly, every theater is going to be running this for the next, probably contractually, at least 3 weeks. So I had fun with the new Doctor Strange. I don't think it's one of the greatest of the Marvel movies. I think this is sort of second tier. At times, for me, it felt a little like one of the Thor movies in that, aside from Ragnarok, I felt like the Thor movies were okay, passable, but they always felt like homework because you feel like you have to see every single Marvel movie to get what happens in the next Marvel movie because they all are connecting. And this was above that for me, but there were times for me where it was sort of like, you can move it on. I will say too, for Marvel folks, people kind of are trained now to go to Marvel movies and sit through the credits. It's one of the few types of film you will go to and nobody in the audience gets up when the credits start. There is a mid-credits, this is sort of the pattern now, there is a mid-credits sequence, meaning the credits will roll for a little while, then you see a little something that sets up another movie. And then if you wait to the very, very end, there is a post-credits sequence. And I'm not going to say what it is, but I will say Sam Raimi has certain people he works with in every film and certain isms that he puts into every film, if you know and you know to look. And those are present in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So that's all I got to say on that. Not that it's going to make anybody's difference whether they go see it or not, but I just saw it the other day and I thought it was kind of cool. And it's a great, as with any Marvel movie, big screen theatrical experience. So in theaters now, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.